Alright everybody, let's see, I don't know where this is going to fit into the video, but one of the things that I wanted to look into on this was the emphasis for FM. And I know that there's a difference between the European and the American radios. So they do say that the European radios have a tendency to be more bassy, and sometimes you almost really have to limit that. But one of the other things too is, remember one of the capacitors I had to change out, and in a roundabout way that's in the de-emphasis circuit, and while I did increase it ever so slightly, I don't really think it would make a difference, but I want to just see if it does. So let's see what it
Weather Center, 3WS Weather.
It's going to be cloudy today with a good chance of snow showers developing. Should end around midnight. Look for high of
almost a rolling brum 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 sound when you turn it to
it's the President's Day sale at Mattress Firm.
to speech. It's gone, which is pretty much what everyone says. So I'm going to try and mess with that capacitor a little bit and just see if that makes any difference whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the radio back out and take a look at that capacitor and see what I can put in its place. Okay, so I took out, and it was actually a little smaller. I took it out. There was a 3300 picofarad, and I stuck in a 1000 picofarad. So about a little bit less than a third of what it was. So just plugged it in, and I'll put the antenna back on. Let's see if we get anything here.
3WS, your green radio station.
So to me that sounds pretty much exactly the same.
Love and sports. So many things. So many things.
You can hear it in his voice.
He's all the way in North Carolina. Hello, Charles.
Hey, how are you doing?
Never better. Yourself?
Well, I'm doing fine now. I almost passed away, but I was one in a million who ever survived what I had. I had an aneurysm.
All right, so let's see. Let's turn this on. Okay, so changing that, I thought maybe, because I didn't get to really listen to it before I had an issue with that capacitor, I thought maybe changing that out might have adversely affected it. So the answer to that is so far no. Okay, or if it did, it's minute. Okay, so now I'm taking a what is it, a 223, which would be a 22 nanofarad capacitor. I'm putting it in parallel with a different 22 nanofarad capacitor, because capacitors in parallel, they increase. I think that's what I'm actually after. So let's see what happens now. I'm going to put this on its side to fire it up. I have too many wires going everywhere. Alright, so that one didn't really make any difference. There's one other one I want to try in the feedback and see if that makes a difference. Alrighty, so let's see. I don't know how distorted this is. Trying to look through the monitor and it looks like it's all distorted, but I don't know if it is or not. Working on the boom sound or the excessive bass on this leads me to the feedback circuit, which is this stuff right here. But I'm going to zoom into it anyhow. So let me get zoomed in so you can see my concerns. Alright, so following the line that comes down from the speaker, right here, comes from the speaker transformer. And it's basically a feedback circuit, and it kind of, you can see it's a loop. So right here, there's a switch, and right here's a switch. I'm going to zoom in even more, just so you can see where I'm pointing in perspective, or with respect to the diagram. All right. So now you can see that switch right there. This guy right, where is it? This guy right here. You can see if that's closed, then it takes the place of the capacitor. Nothing would flow through that capacitor or the resistor. I'm actually going to zoom in the picture as well. So hang on one second. Let me get this zoomed in better. Okay, so this schematic is for a 2147, I believe. And they make one for the 2140 and the 2147 were very, very similar. But what I found on this, and I found it no matter which schematic I looked at, see this resistor right here, 3K9 or 3.9K, that's just how they used to write it. The one that's in there right now is a 15K. And I'm not sure why. Checked a whole bunch of different schematics, and every single one of them has 3.9 or 3K9, depending on what you're looking at, but 3.9K on them. So what I want to do is I want to swap that out and see what kind of changes that makes. And then the capacitor C67, which is also circled, that's saying 68 nano. Now I've seen some of the older schematics, which this rig would be older, had a 100 nano or a, what was it, 0.01 microfarad, I believe. 100, move it over. Anyhow, this one is 100. So those are two changes I want to make to see how it affects it. Basically, it'll work without, if I took those two components out, it would work fine, kind of like opening those two switches. That the switch down here with D and C, I don't know, right here, this guy here, that opens and closes whether it's an FM or not. And then the other one, the other switch over here, the A, looks like capital A, small a, 5 and 6, that's the music speech switch. So that kind of, I think that kills some of the bass in the feedback circuit. So what I want to do is pull those components out and see what we get. So stay tuned. Okay, here's the resistor, and I'm sorry if I said one. It's not. It's 1.5K, not 15K. So it's less than half of the value that it should be, according to the schematic. But who knows why they changed that, or that might have been an update to make the radio sound better. I don't know. So basically, what I did here is I pulled it out of the circuit, and I'm going to use jumper clips to put it back in so we can hear the difference with it and without it. Like I said, it'll work with or without that, and that just kind of like takes the place of that music speech switch. So let me plug the radio in, get it warmed up, and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so I went to turn it on, and now I have no sound at all out of FM, or out of anything. Pretty sure I didn't hit anything in here when I was doing that. What I did notice was the one of the speaker wires had popped off. I don't know if that would cause this issue or not, but either way, I'm connected back up. No sound even when it's turned all the way up out of any of the channels, and also the indicator, the tuning indicator, it's not showing anything. I see the heater's on, so it's getting voltage for that. So what I was going to do is just take a look at the schematic and see where that gets its signal from. And hopefully I didn't dial in an amplifier while I was trying to work it without the speaker connected. But I'm going to take a look up at the schematic in a second. Okay, so here it is here, this EM84 tube. And I want to follow the line that's feeding into that 4.7. Where's my pointer at? Here's the tube right there, and I want to follow this line up. And let's see, it gets from all that and the EABC80. So that's the the demodulator and the everything else in the world too. It's an amplifier, demodulator, and everything else. So I'm going to pull that out and take a look at it and see if I see anything obvious. Nice thing about tubes is you can throw them on the tube tester if you have it. You can put it on the tube tester. Let me shut this off, and I'll yank that tube, and we'll go over to the tube tester. Okay, went to pull that tube and check it, and I just started to think about something, and I noticed that my power supply resistor was stone cold, and so is the resistor that goes it goes up top to the audio output transfer tube, and it lays on top of the transformer up there. I'll show you. But anyhow, I just wanted to check, and I looked at the voltage, and well, I have 300 volts going into my power resistor, but I have nothing coming out. So that's weird. Let me pull that power resistor off there and check it. I mean, it's rated at 10 watts. I don't know how we could have got any more than a watt out of there without other issues, but I'm going to check it and we'll find out. Okay, so here's the other power resistor I was referring to right there. That's 2 watt, and it usually gets nice and warm, but here's my, put this back on, that's the speaker. Here's my power resistor right here. I think you remember when putting that on. So look, when I give it some juice, I don't know if you'll be able to see the meter. I'll grab the other meter. All right, let's see if I can get this guy in the picture as much. Almost. I'll zoom out a little bit. The other out. Well, maybe if I zoom in, you can. All right, so here we go on this side. About 300 volts, which is about what we expect. On this side, 4 volts. That's not right. But this power resistor is not even warm anymore. Four volts. That's interesting. All right. Let me shut this down. Let that capacitor bleed off. Doo-doo. So, interestingly, why is it reading that? Let me go over here and take a look. I'm gonna put you on pause while all right, I got it powered down and drained out. So let's see what, I don't know if you can see the meter here. What do we got there? 3.1 mega ohm. That resistor, that's not right. So let's see, the other resistor is one up top. That should be 1.3. Hang on. right on the resistor, unfortunately. It goes through the coil. Let's see, this should be about 1.3 meg. I mean 1.3 K. That's good, exactly 1.3 K. So this guy here, for some reason, has decided to go crazed. Yeah, 1.7 meg. That's interesting. Now I know it's in circuit, but if anything, that would decrease the resistance because you'd be adding resistance in parallel to it, or whatever in parallel. If it was a short, obviously it'd be closer to a short than anything, but any other resistor would actually drop it below 500. Alright, that's kind of interesting. Well, I'll replace that and try it out again. I don't know if this is something that I have to look into. Maybe one of my leads was shorted against something. I don't know. It's interesting. Alright. Just figured I'd keep you up to date on this. Okay, the resistor's back in, and as you can hear, we have noise again. Kind of interesting. So, I had my reservations about these resistors to begin with. They were kind of just cheapies. And when I went, I thought, well, maybe I can take a look at it, and I actually was kind of yanking on this, and the lead pulled right out of it. But if you look, they're not even close to center. Look how close to the top, you know, the workmanship on that is just terrible. Not to mention the fact that for 10 watts, they get pretty warm. They don't get hot. I mean, you could leave your thumb there all day long, but they get pretty warm, and there's not even a watt going through them. So I don't really know about their rating either. So I think I'm going to look for better ones of that anyhow. I like the aluminum case ones because they can be mounted here. But okay, so before we were so rudely interrupted, where I was going to get with this is I'm going to let you listen.
It's not that big a deal. We don't need to just do away with it.
I don't know if you can pick up the distortion.
I enjoy going to major sporting events and singing the national
But it's almost like there's way too much bass when he even in his speech. So right now it's turned onto the music mode. When I
having to listen to my inability to carry a tune,
kick it to the speech mode,
because I feel that strongly about it.
It loses some of the wholeness, but that distortion goes away. I don't know if you can catch it or not. But of course, if I had a music station on here, it would probably be getting flagged. So I'm going to turn it back on to...
I don't care. The resolution is not to do away with it and just say,
if you can hear the distortion.
Decades
now,
of history of us.
That resistor I was telling you about that was the wrong value, 1.5K. If I unplug that, I'll turn it up.
Making it part of their experience when they go to a major sporting event. That's the way I feel. Do you feel differently? Hop on my telephone lines, 855-212-4227.
You don't really lose much of that fullness. It actually sounds louder. But it's not, it's no longer, it's distorting a little bit, not as much.
I'm guessing it's a little chilly up there.
Well, you know, you guys always say that. Come on, man. You guys got North Dakota, South Dakota.
Speech mode and everything.
Down there, a whole lot colder than here.
Doesn't make any difference.
I'm a
so here,
guy, and we've got some snow on the
turn that back down so you can hear me. So here, now I'm going to put a 3.9K resistor in, and that's what it kind of says it should have. So let's see. We'll pop this out like so. And I'm going to take this resistor out of the circuit, so to speak. Okay, there's my 3.9.
For the boom of the grave, okay? That was a warning to runaway slaves. And what people forget that. I don't understand why people overlook that fact. Because I mean, that
you
was
can hear that
like
distortion starting to come back in.
For a poem written by Hitler. Because remember,
Slight distortion. So anyhow, I'm wondering if I change that to the 3.9 like it requests and drop the capacitance down. So let me try that real quick before I solder anything in. We'll leave everything dummied in there, and we'll go with that. So I want to put the 3.9 resistor back in. Okay, so now I have that resistor bypassed, and I have the 3.9 in, and I pulled out the capacitor that was 100, or I'm sorry, was it a, turn that down so it doesn't flag us. What was that? 0.1 microfarad, and I put in a 0.068. So let's just
Building partner since 1956. 84 Lumber. Visit 84lumber.com. Fan headlines. Powered by Bowser Chevrolet. Experience the power of Bowser at Bowser Chevrolet.
The Penguins defeated the Capitals 6-3 on Sunday. A pair of goals for Brian Rust. Sidney Crosby, a goal and an assist. Pitt basketball fell 71-65 to Georgia Tech in Atlanta on Sunday. Ithiel Horton with a team-high 18 points.
definitely better, but I can still hear it in there.
In the loss.
I don't know how much I'm going to mess with that.
937thefan.com.
Because basically,
Get it. You don't want to be hearing aggressive
if you
commercials
just do
anymore.
that, it's gone.
Something you do want to hear.
On stations like that, I'm sure you could use it on that. Yeah, change the capacitance back to the, not back to, I'm going to change the capacitance to those values and the resistor to that value. Like I said, I never saw that value resistor called out for anything, so I don't think it'll be a big issue. Okay, so once I do that, then we'll be ready to do the alignment on it. And I'm going to see if I can find some better 500 ohm 10 watt power resistors. That one up there is kind of got me nervous now too, because I can see the ends kind of wiggles around where I soldered the wire to it. So like I said, heat it up in the glue or something. I don't know, but I'll get some better ones. Okay, so this is kind of sum this all up. A couple of things happened here. Was one, I did the alignment to it, but I didn't have my camera handy and I was too impatient to wait. It was uneventful, really. Nothing changed. The only thing that was really out of alignment was the things that I screwed up when I accidentally, and if you remember when I did the AM alignment, I accidentally had changed the FM cans, and it was these two. Those were the only two, and they actually, I didn't change them that much, but they came right back in. I looked at the wave on the at the discriminator when you check. Basically, this is a terrible schematic. I don't think I have a better one printed out. I was using the computer schematic. But basically you're checking, put the oscilloscope at the speaker outlet, and then when you adjust the last stage, you adjust it for the nicest sine wave. There's another way you can do it too. And I suggest one of the guys that I've watched do it online with a bunch of different German radios is Electronics Old and New. Does a really good job of explaining it and doing the alignment and a lot of the things that he found. This to me is all new, so basically if you're watching my video, it's almost a compilation of what not to do. But yeah, as far as even not having the camera handy. Another thing not to do. I bought some light bulbs from Amazon, and I forget, they didn't even have really a light bulb number, but they were 6.3 volts, and I forget, it was something like half an amp. It was substantial, whatever it was. And they were really bright, but as you can see, started to turn black, and it didn't last that long. I maybe got an hour or two out of it. So they went with these, a number 46, and it's about half. I think these are under a quarter, or I forget what they come out to be, but they're less than half of the power consumption of these. And I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, so it completely fails me. But I generally went to the current times voltage to get the wattage rating of it, and they're less than half of that. It still looks to be a pretty bright bulb, so hopefully that'll be better. The actual schematic calls for a 7-volt bulb at 0.3 amps, and this is 6.3 at, like, I don't know, 0.2, somewhere in that area. Probably less than that, 0.18 something. But it not to go into it that much. Anyhow, so hopefully the number 46 bulb will last and work if that's what you have to do. If you're looking for a replacement, we'll go from there. Everything's pretty much ready to go back together, so that's what I'll do. I'll stick it back in the case. Like I said, I didn't go real crazy with the alignment in it, because I just wanted to do the IF cans when I did them for AM, and if you remember the video, they really weren't off that bad, but I did screw up when I adjusted the wrong thing by accident. So whenever you do something like this, you might want to take note of them, mark at it. I knew which ones were which, but when I looked at the schematic, it was sitting upside down, and I kept thinking to myself, that doesn't look right, but I'll try it anyhow. Well, I was right. It didn't look right. So maybe mark these AM or FM or something that you'll be able to remember. So I want to clean it up a little bit more, the chassis up a little bit more, and then I'm going to stick it back in the case, and we'll give it a trial run. I'll put back together and see how it goes from there. Anything else to tell you? Light bulb I told you about. That resistor on the side is working real nice. No issues with that so far. And that should be about it. Oh, when I put this back together in the case, and I'll show you, hang on one second, let me pause. Okay, here's the case. I flipped the speaker. The way they had it, these wires were down. The speaker connections were down. And when you put that in there, it's really tight against that. So I put it like this. I dummied it together, and I really don't like it like that, so I'm going to flip it back the way it was. I thought, maybe somebody had changed that because then the Grundig information was upside down. But it almost seems to fit worse, and these wires have to cross each other. And I just don't like the way that looks. But if you're doing one of these, you'll find a lot of times you either have these enamel-coated wires, like transformer wires, or they'll use these plastic coated. It's almost like there's a shellac over them or something, and the wires are very rigid. Whether they're aluminum, you almost just have to be really careful with the wires. Try not to move them around too much, and just be cognizant that they have the coated, like these transformers are coated. So if you rub them against something enough, I'm sure the coating will come off, and then you'll have all heck to pay there. So we'll shut this off, start to stick it back in the case, see what I need to do to line things up, and then we'll take a look at it from there. Okay, so I flipped that around, I got that in there, it's all soldered in. Now one thing I noticed was, I imagine this is for the FM, and if you look inside here you can see, let me see if I can zoom it down so you see what I'm seeing. See this kind of aluminum foil sheeting here. I'm imagining that makes up the FM antenna. I think that's FM that connects to. I have to double check, but this here doohickey plugs in to the antenna board down here. See, you can see where my fingers are. Oh, they're over here. It's weird working with everything being backwards. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna work. Eventually I'll get you in focus. Yeah, this is the antenna board. So that plugs into there, and if you remember at the very beginning, that was out here, and I can see them working here, what was kind of glued into the case. And this aluminum foil makes up the antenna. So I'm not sure what I want to do about that. I have to pull the radio back out to put, if I was going to put some type of aluminum foil back in there. I mean, I guess really I could make it out of aluminum foil. I don't know what made the contact in here on this end. I'm not sure what it went into there to make the contact. Oh, actually I do know. If you look here, it was bent over. So the contact was actually external to there. So I mean, I could put it in there and just make up for the, even with a piece of wire, make up for the parts of the foil that are missing. Kind of interesting how they did that. I saw it at first, I thought maybe it was just try to keep noise down like a shield, but then I was thinking, no, they made it too weird. So yeah, so that's the antenna, and we'll haven't decided what I want to do about that yet. But I just want to get it back together and see how everything works. So I think I'll come back to that and finish dummying this thing together yet. Just trying to make sure that I had all the parts. It's been quite a while since it's been apart. Alright. Let's see if I can get a more zoomed out view. Here it is all put back together. I haven't decided what I want to do with that antenna piece yet. That's it from the back. And here's where that antenna would plug into. Just like so, and it would be up inside here because it sticks through that little area there. So I think I'll just stick a piece of wire on it for now to get it working and see how that works, but that's it. So we'll fire it up and see what happens, see how it sounds. Like I said, down here you don't expect too much without an external antenna, so even with that antenna on it, I don't know how much I'd get out of it. But that'll be it for now. We'll be back. Well, I'll be back anyhow. Alright, I got the FM antenna. Tried to get it out. It basically was breaking into little pieces as I got it out. So before I went too far, I got in there with a flexible tape measure and made some readings, some measurements, and that's my measurements that I ended up with. Kind of a crude drawing, but looks like the foil's gonna have to come in like that. It makes this loop, and then it's a long sheet down about 14.5 inches long. So what I want to try is I actually have some heavy duty aluminum foil, cooking aluminum foil, but it's really heavy duty. It's almost not real good for cooking, it's so heavy duty, but I'm going to try that, and maybe if I can cut that, and then if I can glue that into place. You know, this here was just like a cardboard with aluminum coating on it. So we'll see what happens, but I just wanted to show you what this was. And what I was kind of working here was without trying to get too much involved. I don't want to get anything that's easily coming out of the case. I don't want to put any big scratches inside the wood or anything, but then that'll be, once I get that all up, it'll be easier for when I'll glue the other piece in. I'll just put a little bit of glue down and put it in and let it set up. That's my plan anyway. Okay, so here's the antenna made. I cut it out of aluminum foil. The foil wasn't as thick as I thought it was, so what I did was I glued it to some paper. And what paper do I have that was 15 inches long? Wrapping paper. Now I can cut this out of here. But just I left it in there so it would be strong enough when I supported it and put it in. But just the backing would be the paper. And then I can cut little Santa Claus's face out of there if I so desire. Maybe I'll leave it in there for somebody. It'll be something interesting for them to look at and figure what the heck was I doing. But yeah, so then I glued this onto the sides just with a little bit of just standard Elmer's glue, and made my. Let's see if you can take a look in here where this piece goes to, in case you have one of these and you don't know what it is. Ouch. So this white piece in here, right there. I'll try and see if I can light it up a little bit for you. That won't work. Anyhow, that just glues in there, and then the connection from the antenna right and left attached to that, and then comes down the twin lead to a connector that goes into the back of the radio, and it screws right in there. Has a little, it looks like, I don't know if you can see it in there, if I can get a good enough view of it. Let me see. Move this out of the way, you'll be able to see it better. Back here it looks like a little spring, but it would be an inductor. You see that, the little wand thing with a couple of turns on it? That would be an inductor. So hopefully this all works pretty well, and it was a pretty cheap and easy fix. If that does work, we'll see. Now I'll put it back together again for the umpteenth time, but I guess that's kind of the deal when you're doing these. You're taking it apart, put it together, see how things fit. Because when I got it, it wasn't completed. It was kind of had been taken apart, and a lot of pieces were not with it. So I'll put it back together again, and we'll give it a run, see how it works now. Then. Okay, so there it is back in the case. I actually put a connector on that wire because they had it. Well, they had put. Remember when I got it? It had a speaker jack in the back, and they had that on there. But the problem was, is every time I put the radio in and out, I had to solder and unsolder from the base. Now I don't mind doing that to the ground down there. You can see in there behind the tubes. But up here it was a little bit trickier, or on the speaker itself. So I said, well, I'll just put a quick pull apart connector in there, and that works okay. Really not sure how much wire is needed to be on there, or why there's so much wire. I don't know if that's part of that modification that someone did, but that's it in the case. And there you can see the antenna thingy that I made. That's on that side. There it is on that side. And it's pretty much cleaned up. I didn't, I'm not going to repaint it or anything, get anything crazy like that. Just got the dust and dirt off it. So I'm going to finish putting it back together, and there's how the antenna port mounts up in there. You can see I still left the Christmas paper on. I thought it would be an added touch for if somebody ever takes this apart again. Okay, just curious to try something now. It's fired up in all of its glory. It's kind of warmed up. It's on the UKW, or the FM band, to me. And I just want to see, without that antenna that was integral part of this, what the difference is. I can kind of hear a station back in there, starting at one end. Can barely make out some stuff there.
This would be like, all right, I want you to go put this football parlay in.
Get a couple stations. Definitely a lot of steam on them. So I want to try plugging that antenna thingy and see how it works going back the other direction. So we plug that in. We turn down the volume, obviously. It's definitely picking up some noise from my lighting, I can tell you that. But let's try it now.
As is our executive director.
He's got a bigger house. Like, people say, how'd you do it?
There's the lights again. So picks up a couple more stations, and like I said, considering I'm down here in a basement, it's not too bad. have to try it out upstairs. But yeah, it definitely seemed to help a little bit. Definitely not as much as an outdoor antenna. I don't know. I don't think it's going to really have any effect on medium wave or K wave. But yeah, so that's it. And probably didn't learn too much from watching it. Sorry I jumped around so much and missed out on a lot. But it's my first one trying one of these, and getting through the language barrier is definitely a little bit tough, and finding stuff for it as well. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. So that'll kind of sum up the old Grundig repair. We'll have to put it upstairs and listen to it in the kitchen now.